Chapter 8. Eater cleared his throat loudly. Who exactly is Esmeralda? I know a bit of the story, but it doesn't make any sense.
That's because no one knows the whole story, Alev explained. Jinyan nodded gravely and said, Esmeralda was one of the best healers we ever had. She made brews and potions unlike any we had seen before, but she was very ambitious and wanted to use the magic of trees for her own selfish reasons. We don't know exactly what she wanted to do. She had us fooled with her charming ways, everyone except for Conrad, who figured out her intentions were not good. He tried to warn us, but we were under her spell. Esmeralda attacked him when he stopped her from misusing the lights. They both died in the fight. Or so we thought. She was never seen again after the attack on Conrad. Alev concluded, If it really is Esmeralda, we need to find the answers to 2 questions. What does she intend to do? And how did Conrad stop her the last time? The elders' meeting continued, but Eater, Amy, and I were told to leave. Amy returned to attend to the injured. Eater and I went toward our homes to pass the ill-fated night. I asked Eater if he was still mad at me. He replied honestly, I would have preferred that you told me once Foray lied to me, but I understand you are obeying Kratos. I didn't know Foray was capable of hurting him, I clarified. He knew what I meant. Everyone was shocked by her actions. Why did Amy need Alev? I asked. She's the old healer, the one before Foray. In fact, she taught Foray. Old age is cruel. Her hand started to tremble badly, and it got so bad that working with the lights was impossible. Then one day, the power to manipulate the moonlight left her entirely. Foray has been the healer ever since. We fell silent. Talking about Foray was not comfortable anymore. I had not known her for long. She came across as a proud person during most of our interactions, except when she talked about her work. I had actually liked that side of her personality. But it was different for everyone else. They had known, respected, and trusted her. Now that she had betrayed them, even saying her name was agonizing. Their wounds were fresh and raw. Eater left for his home, and I continued on to my own. It was a terrible night. The storm had arrived, accompanied by the angry crackling of lightning. The air shook as the thunder growled, and the angry rain beat on the windows frantically. I pulled my blanket around me tightly and fell into a fitful sleep, dreaming about fire-spitting monsters and dark, mysterious places. Early the next morning, I went to the village center to see how Kratos was doing. I still couldn't see him, but the guardians told me he was awake. The village center was in ruins. The storm was long gone, but had left puddles of water everywhere. I joined a large group of Seren who were clearing the rubble. After a while, I saw a crowd started to gather in front of the elder's house. I joined them. The guardians told us that Foray had been captured late last night, and Alev wanted the villagers to gather for an update on the situation. Once everyone gathered, Alev spoke to the crowd. Last night, Esmeralda attacked the village. The crowd gasped. Whispers echoed amongst them. This is what we know so far. Esmeralda tricked Foray into helping her make that monster, and once she had it, she tried to kill Foray. Esmeralda knew that Foray could stop her with her powers to manipulate light. We are lucky Foray escaped the fire, and the Guardians found her. She is being held for further investigation, and we will share all the findings with everyone. Until then, our focus will be on protecting the village from further attacks. Rest assured, we are doing our best to prevent further damage, and will rebuild as fast as possible. We will gather again when we know more. Alev left, and the crowd started whispering in anxious disbelief. I walked toward the tree circle to find Amy in the red tree. I waited outside, and when she came out, inquired about Kratos. She led me to the moon tree in the middle of the tree circle. This was the first time I had entered the moon tree. It was much larger than the others. Its chamber was more spacious, and the fruit bulb in the middle was massive. I found Kratos on a bed right next to the bulb, awake. Amy and I asked him how he was feeling. He looked weak, but smiled at me and said, "Much better. You saved my life. I can't thank you enough." I smiled back. "Don't worry about that. Just get better." Amy briefed Kratos about the situation. The elders think Foray is telling the truth. Esmeralda tricked her into making the beast. They believe Foray did not intend for anyone to get hurt, and once she found out what Esmeralda really wanted, she tried to stop her. Esmeralda attacked Foray with a fireball, but she was lucky to survive. Guardians found her late at night, and now the elders are holding her to investigate further. Kratos asked in clear frustration, "What does Esmeralda want?" Amy replied, "Based on what Foray said, it appears Esmeralda wanted to steal all the vials of light to keep her beast strong. After Qualam's warning, the Guardians were placed to protect the trees. Therefore, Esmeralda couldn't get the chance to steal the vials. We believe she will try again with her newfound weapon."
Kratos sighed. Foray knew of this plan?
Amy replied quickly, "No, only now she is putting it all together. She thought she was building a guardian to protect the village against the evil wizard. Esmeralda tricked Foray into thinking that this was the only chance the village had against the wizard's upcoming attack."
Esmeralda is working with the wizard? I asked.
"Well, we think Esmeralda is the wizard," Amy said, "or she's under his control. We don't know what it is, but the elders think Esmeralda is the wizard who wanted to attack the village and steal the light."
Kratos asked, "What happens next? Where did she go after attacking the village? Do we know anything?"
Amy responded in a stern voice, "Everyone thinks she will come back. If she wants the vials, she will take them by force. It's just a matter of time."
We looked at each other with anxiety and fell silent. Amy was deep in thought while she fidgeted with her rings. Eater entered the chamber and stopped when he saw our worried faces. Kratos asked him about Foray. He informed us that Foray was here in the tree circle, and it was decided she would be tested by the mirror. Kratos sighed, and Amy shook her head. "What does that mean?" I asked.
"You will see. Let's go outside."
Amy tried to stop Kratos as he needed to rest, but he got up slowly. Eater gave him his shoulder to lean on. With slow steps, they walked out of the moon tree chamber. Amy and I followed. It looked like the entire village was gathered in the tree circle. I saw Foray sitting alone, halfway between the arch and the moon tree, and in the arch sat Alev with an old lady I didn't recognize. We went and stood next to the elders. Foray was on her knees, sobbing like the one who had lost everything. She was holding a vial of white moonlight in her hand. Her head was bowed. The tree circle was in complete silence except for her regretful sobs. The mourning echoed back from the rigid walls of the audience. Most of them had averted their eyes from the unfortunate woman they had respected so much. I looked at their faces, trying to understand what was happening here. Amy stood next to a tense Eater, staring down at her feet. Tears ran down her cheeks silently. She kept wiping them off. Everyone was angry with Foray, yet it was painful to see her in this state. We didn't know what we could do to end it, so we just stood there and heard her wail. Alev welcomed Kratos and said, "I am happy to see you are all right. If something were to happen to you..." Foray sobbed and broke down into hysterics. Alev looked at me and said, "You saved Kratos' life. Accept our gratitude. What is your name?" "I have not picked a name yet," I responded meekly.
"Picking a name isn't that hard,"
Alev reprimanded. "I am not yet sure what name will suit me." I felt the eyes of the entire village on me. Alev shrugged dismissively.
"You thinkers overthink everything."
Then Alev walked to Foray. She extended her trembling hands and took the vial from Foray's hand. Amy walked over and took the vial from Alev. The moonlight vial started to glow brightly, bathing the surrounding in white light. I looked at Amy's face as if in a trance. She looked like an angel carrying a full moon in her hand. Foray's sobbing intensified. Alev spoke sternly.
"The moonlight has rejected you. It has started to glow for Amy. Now she is the Seren healer. The magic itself has made its decision."
Alev looked at the old lady, then back at Foray and said,
"It is time to tell the truth, Foray."
Foray shook her head fiercely. No, not yet. Let me explain. At least, please, give me a chance."
"Then tell us what you have to say for yourself. Why would you do such a thing?"
Alev said. The village waited quietly as Foray caught her breath and calmed herself down. Then she recounted the events that led to the devastation Serenus had gone through. "I was out in the forest one day. That place is rarely visited. I was looking for some mushrooms and herbs for making medicines. There were plenty, and I was busy collecting them when someone approached me. It was an old lady limping badly. Foray sighed and shook her head and continued in a coarse voice. I left my things and helped her sit against a tree trunk. I had never seen her before. It was strange, as everyone here knows each other. I expressed my surprise, and she said I was right, that we had never met before. She told me that her name was Savita, and that she had been a healer before Alev. I had heard the name, so I thought she was telling the truth. I asked her why she wandered in the forest and did not live in the village. She told me the story of how she had been captured by the wizard, and the people thought she was dead. She stayed in captivity for a long time, and during her time with the wizard, she figured out his plans to attack the village. She said she had just escaped the wizard and came to warn us. I was foolish. I believed her words. Her old age made me think that she could not be a threat. She said she had a plan to defeat the wizard by creating a powerful creature to fight him off. I trusted her. She asked me to keep her hidden so the wizard wouldn't know she had escaped. I thought it made sense. Alev interrupted her story. You thought Esmeralda was Savita, my teacher, and you never thought to ask me about it. Savita died in front of my eyes. If you had talked to me, we would have found out that it was actually Esmeralda. Foray sighed and continued. I see now that I was wrong, but at the time I thought I was doing the right thing. I had no reason to doubt that she was not Savita. She taught me things that only an expert healer could know. Esmeralda tricked you into creating a weapon for her. What does she intend to do next? Alev asked. Foray replied, When we heard the warning from Quilam, I thought the attack was imminent, and so I helped her, putting aside all the concerns I had. I thought I was protecting everyone. What does Esmeralda intend to do? Alev repeated. I now believe that she lied about an attack from the wizard. She wanted the weapon for herself. The villagers gasped loudly. Foray continued. Esmeralda needs the vials of light to keep the creature alive and strong, and that is why she will attack the tree circle with her beast. Everyone tensed, hearing about the possibility of another attack. The elders whispered amongst themselves. Foray started sobbing again. Then, finally, she got a hold of herself and spoke again. Her voice was teary. I was stupid enough to believe her. She tricked me, and I fell for it. I brought her here with the best intention. She provided me with detailed illustrations. Kratos and the others trusted me and followed my directions. If only I had known. Alev was stern. She was not going to show any kindness to Foray. But you did, didn't you? You know the laws of Seren magic. Our magic is not to be used to create such a creature. It is unforgivable. Moreover, you defied the laws by keeping her hidden. You were supposed to inform the elders no matter what you thought or believed. She continued harshly. I have known you since you were young. I know how ambitious you are. I taught you humility when you craved recognition and praise, but you didn't learn to subdue your desires. Don't act as if you never knew what you were doing. You did. You wanted to do something others couldn't. You were proud. Foray's bowed head said it all. She knew the laws, yet she chose to perform the unspeakable act. Jinyan, the elder sitting next to Alev, was equally strict. Kratos came to talk to you. How do you explain what you did to him? I didn't do anything. It was Esmeralda. She didn't want him to mess up our plans. She said he would stay unconscious long enough to finish our work. I meant him no harm. Then Foray looked at me and continued. You saved Kratos. I am in your debt forever. If something happened to him, I could never forgive myself. Jinyan interjected. What about the ones who got hurt in the attack? Have you forgiven yourself for inflicting misery on them? Foray continued with a bowed head. I never meant for any of it to happen. I thought I was protecting everyone. Alev looked at the elder I had not met before. Her light blue eyes made her look different from the others. Alev said, Aliyah, are you ready to test Foray? Foray sobbed as Aaliyah replied in a cold, distant voice. I am. She stood up slowly. Boris signaled for everyone to sit down, and they moved away from Aaliyah, leaving her alone in the middle of the arch. Aaliyah sat down on the ground under the arch. Amy walked over to the moon tree and picked a white flower. She put it inside the moonlight vial, and it started to move around ferociously, creating a bubbling mist. Amy placed the vial in front of Aaliyah. Her eyes were closed as though in deep meditation. Slowly, moonlight started to calm down and glow gently on Aaliyah's face, giving her an outlandish look. Her expression was calm and graceful. We waited quietly. I was curious about the trial. How were the elders going to judge Foray? It seemed impossible without any witnesses. After some time, Aaliyah opened her eyes and said, I am ready. Bring her close. Foray raised her head and looked at Aaliyah, and then addressed Alev angrily. How can you do this to me? I have spent all my life here among my people. I have made one mistake, just one, and you are going to test me? Have you forgotten all that I have done? Alev stayed quiet, but her expression said it all. She didn't trust Foray. Amy asked Foray to go ahead and sit by Aaliyah. She lashed out at her. I won't take this insult. I refuse to be tested. She turned and tried to walk away, but the guardian stopped her, holding her arms firmly. She resisted, but they did not let go. Kratos went to Foray to try to calm her down. Foray, don't be difficult. No one is trying to insult you. We just want to be sure. It is better for you. Once your innocence is proved, no one will ever point the finger at you. Kratos' words made it clear that he trusted Foray and believed that she had unintentionally made a mistake. Foray kept looking at Kratos with fear in her eyes like a bird in a cage, fluttering around anxiously with no hope of getting out. She pleaded, Kratos, you are my friend. You know me. Don't let them do this to me. Kratos consoled her. There is nothing to worry about, Foray. You know you are innocent. Then why are you worried? Go on. Sit with Aaliyah. Foray shouted at him, trying to push the guardians away. I can see what you are trying to do. You are no friend of mine. She looked around at the elders. I don't accept this. With a seething look at Kratos, she tried to break free, but the guardians were too strong. Boris asked them to take her forward. She kept resisting as they dragged her to Aaliyah and tried to make her sit next to her. She shouted at them to leave her alone and fought with all her might. Kratos kept trying to calm her down, but she was senseless with anger. It was difficult for the guardians to control her. Amy walked to the blue tree and brought 2 more vials. One was blue, and the other was indigo. She put her hand in the blue vial and removed a strand of light. Then, she took a strand from the indigo vial and twisted the 2 strands together to form a rope. She combined the ends, and the lights merged to form a glowing crown. Kratos and Boris helped the struggling guardians hold Foray down, while Amy put the crown around her head. Her anguished expression slowly mellowed, and she stopped resisting. Her eyes softened, and she stared into space. Kratos and Boris helped her sit down in front of Aaliyah and put her hands on the vial. Aaliyah put her hands on Foray's. The crowd became very silent in anticipation. A bright yellow flame erupted above the moonlight vial and flickered in a non-existent wind. I sensed an alien emotion, but couldn't understand it enough to name it. Slowly, the flame turned orange. It spread an uncomfortable ambiance around us. I looked at others to see if they had felt the change. They had. I turned my attention to Aaliyah and was shocked to see her expression. She looked angry. The flame quickly deepened into a red one. It burnt furiously, creating an eerie atmosphere. I felt the heat and was bothered by it. I became angry with it for being there. The feeling rushed through my veins and spread everywhere. Every passing moment fueled my anger. I was furious with everyone and everything. The intensity of the emotion shook me. I clenched my hands into fists. I looked around the chamber, and my eyes rested on Amy. I realized she was the reason for my anger. I hated her for having what I couldn't have. She didn't deserve the treasure she possessed. Only I was the one worthy of it. She had snatched it from me. The injustice increased my fury. The flames turned into a roaring fire, and I heard Alia sneer at Amy.
I realized that it was not just me. Everyone was furious with her, though not as much as me. I loathed her beyond words. I searched for Alev and found her sitting pompously in her chair. Who did she think she was to decide for others? She must have been jealous of my achievements. I smirked with disgust. She could only dream of the power and intellect I had. The more I looked at her old, wrinkled face, the angrier I became. It was unbearable to take her snobbishness anymore. I wanted to hurt her. I clenched my fists even tighter and felt my nails digging into my palms. I growled, and with a leap, I lunged at her, seething with anger. Strong hands pulled me back as I struggled to break free and attack her. I screamed uncontrollably as someone forced me down to the ground and held me there. I kicked and punched wherever I could, but they wouldn't let me free. The rage grew inside me till I felt that my body wouldn't take it anymore. Then it stopped suddenly and started to subdue. I slumped down to the ground. Slowly, my anger transformed into an emotion I couldn't understand. I trembled violently in its claws. I looked at the faces around me helplessly. None of them could help me. Behind them, the fire burned blue above the white orb. My heart ached, looking at the pure white light. The anger drained out of my body. Instead, I drowned in raw pain. What had I done? I wished time could go back. I wouldn't think of it ever again. Never! But the time had gone. There was nothing I could do. I wrapped my arms around my legs and rocked back and forth in hopeless agony. My face was drenched with tears. Why did I do it? What for? No answer came forth. I couldn't breathe. The air was suffocating me. I looked around in exasperation and saw my pain reflected on the desolate faces around me. Tears ran down their flushed cheeks. A sob escaped my mouth. The white orb with the blue fire danced in front of my eyes as I slid down to the ground. The sobbing rocked my body, and my mind went dark. I felt weak and tired as I opened my eyes and saw the flickering light from a torch lighting the dim room. I could see the room's wooden ceiling while lying on a bed. The place was familiar. I tried to remember where I was. My mind was clouded. How did I get here? It took me a long time to recover an image inside my head, a furious fire burning above a softly glowing white orb. I remembered everything and felt sick. What had happened? I recalled feeling jealous of Amy and was confused. I had always liked her, but earlier I wanted to hurt her. I was furious at everyone in Serenus. I felt cheated out of my fair right. Then I had tried to attack Alev. The memory of it shocked me. What was it that came afterward? An emotion so strong and painful that my mind couldn't take it, and I had fallen unconscious. There was no reason for me to feel what I had, yet I felt it deeply. The door opened and Kratos entered the room. His face was drawn and tired, but he was relieved to see me. "Thank the light, you're awake. We were worried about you. How are you feeling now?" He sat next to me and watched me with concerned eyes. "Tired, but fine," I said. He sighed in relief. "Kratos, what happened to me? I attacked Alev," I asked him. My desperate voice betrayed my feelings of shock and shame. He watched me with kindness and said, "What do you think happened to you?" I went over the memories again, trying to find the reason for the incredible experience. There was no reason to feel the way I did. I knew those emotions were not mine. They couldn't be. If anyone could feel that way, it was Faray. Did I feel what Faray was feeling? Jealous of Amy for taking her place? Proud of her own talent and angered by Alev's decision to test her? Kratos nodded. He looked sad and tired, too. "That's right. You felt what Faray was feeling at the time. At first, I was surprised by her resistance because I believed with all my heart that she was innocent. But now, it is clear that she wasn't. She helped Esmeralda because she was too proud of herself and wanted to do something no one had ever done, without regard to right and wrong. She was jealous of Amy and hated her. You attacking Alev was, in fact, a reflection of the hatred Faray felt toward her." He paused and sighed loudly. I felt sad for him. He had believed in Faray and truly cared for her, but she had let him down. It was not easy to deal with such a blow. "I am sorry, Kratos. I know how you must be feeling." He gave a slow, tired smile and nodded. Do you remember what you felt before you fell unconscious? I do, but I don't understand it. Regret. Ferre regrets her decisions and her actions. He was right. I nodded. She was not innocent, but she had realized how much damage her actions had caused. I knew it without any doubt, as I had experienced her feelings as my own. My body shuddered as I remembered the experience. How did it happen? How could I feel what Ferre was feeling? It wasn't just you. All of us experienced her feelings, though they affected you much more than us. It was Aaliyah. She is the mirror. She has a strange ability to reflect a person's feelings. She can feel what her subject is feeling, and she can make others around her experience those feelings as their own. No one knows how it works or why, but it does. What did the elders decide about Ferre? I asked. Alev had called off the meeting after you fell unconscious. It was proven that Ferre was not innocent, but the decision about her fate is still pending. The elders will meet again soon to announce it, but before that, there is another pressing matter. What is that? Kratos continued. Looks like there will be another attack. Esmeralda wants to steal all the vials of light to keep her beast strong. The Council of Elders is meeting again. You should rest now. I will let you know what happens. I did not want to rest. I wanted to attend the meeting. Can I come with you? If that is what you want, Kratos replied gently. We left the lodge for the meeting. It was raining again, so it was held at Alev's place. Kratos and I were the first to go to the sitting room for the meeting. Soon the elders arrived. Jinin was the last one to be carried in by two sturdy guardians. Alev waited till everyone was seated and comfortable. Then she started the meeting. Yesterday was a terrible day. We witnessed betrayal, deceit, and cruelty. Our own let us down. But today is a new day. Let's pull ourselves together and prepare for the inevitable battle. The sooner we fight it off, the quicker the peace will be restored. She paused as everyone listened to her with respect and attention. Aaliyah has shown us that Ferre was indeed telling the truth. Her actions were misguided and full of pride, but she was tricked by Esmeralda to do such a thing. Jinyan nodded and said, You are right, Alev. I am sure Ferre created the creature as the Seren defender, but it is now in the hands of Esmeralda, and she wants to take all the vials. We cannot allow this. We need to stop her. Boris was next to share his thoughts. I have read Conrad's journals. I believe he stopped Esmeralda using some kind of weapon. He did not survive the fight, or we would have known how to make such a weapon. If we could find out what it was, we would be in a better position to fight back. Everyone nodded. After a while, Jinyan said, There's only one place to find what we don't know about Conrad's weapon. Alev thought for a while. Then she said decidedly, We will visit Ser. Instantly, the atmosphere in the room changed. Loud gasps were followed by whispering among the Seren elders and guardians. Alev ignored the reaction and continued. We will leave early in the morning. Boris, make preparations for the journey. The weather is bad. We must be back before the evening falls.